Oh, well, you people on TV land, I guess you know what we're doing. The Kyroots have just been read. We're trying to hit some of them that people have requested by page number, as listed here on your famous sheet. The page number. That they would like to hear additional explanations, which I'm sure many of us would. And Kyroots said, I think this is just one that needs to be reread because I know it's a little hard. It says, although you may yet like a comprehensive definition of the word, and the word's the last thing in the sentence. You got to remember that. It's coming up to a word. That you may not have the full definition that Kyroot has in mind of this word. But what it is, believe me, says he's defining the word beforehand, is that whatever it is that everybody else is thinking right now, whatever it is, it's a fad. Not only do I not think personally that needs any additional explanation, I think it's dangerous. The fashion police could come in and arrest all of us just on suspicion. Of course, if it was the actual fashion police, I guess some of us would be beyond a matter of mere suspicion. And Kyroots said, in one place, local intellectual reality said, common denominator is my middle, first, and last name. No, I'm not going to say. You can figure that one out. I just caught on this is the way to move through them. Jesus. I'm about slow learner. That's all I got to do. But never mind the clock. I'll knock these out in no time. And Kyroots said there are a lot of things going on in the world that no one seems to notice. And Kyroots said, God, how have you people done it? Everyone that's requested, I got nothing to say. Here it goes. And Kyroots said, anything that can't somehow be funny can't anyhow be true. I don't want to. Maybe I just don't want to talk. Anything that cannot somehow be funny cannot anyhow be true. That is so far removed from sanity, reality, anything that's reason, that I don't know how I would ever dig us out of that. I mean, what can I say? Could that be the actual, I hate to say litmus test because Kyroots already used that, of what truthfulness is, since we have had everyone from religious prophets to small prophets to actually running in the red to philosophers trying to describe the truth. And what if this could be the final, the one and only necessary way in which to judge whether something, and I'm not going into whatever true is. The rest of humanity has been talking about what true is, so they must know, so they don't need me to chime in. Whatever it is they mean, I accept it. But what if the real test for the truth is simply anything that can be said that somehow cannot be made to be funny? Then that would be the proof of the lack of truthfulness. I'll repeat again if you didn't see where it was going. Could anything be further removed from just decency? Forget sanity for a minute, since some of you won't have much trouble doing that, or intelligence. How about just a common sense of decency? To start talking about standards of morality, the way in which people should behave in a decent Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Rotarian, Moose Lodge manner. What if, I suggest? All right, let's be crude since I put my foot in it. That is a fact, and it doesn't matter any sort of description because this really has only any meaning to weird people that might be interested in this sort of way in which to get away from polar-based thinking, which of course keeps many people from being interested in this, that yes, some of it sounded interesting for a while, and I thought, where's it going? Start walking on the planet Earth, and where's it going? Well, I'm on my way over there. Well, keep walking. Yes, with this, I know exactly where I'm going. I'm headed toward the South Pole. I'm headed toward Kabul. But if you walk far enough, where are you going to end up? Now, you know that you're going to end up here looking. Of course, if we waited here long enough to go, I thought you were going somewhere. And here it comes after all these months, according to how fast you walk, I guess, years. Here you come straggling back when you swore to us that you knew where you were going. And off you went. And all we got to do is wait here, and you'll end up here. No matter how ragged and how bad you need a bath and a shave, you'll end up here. Everything that people talks about, describing it as the truth, they're saying that they're going somewhere, and that it has some permanent validity, that I'm going here. The truth lies north, east. The truth lies in Rome. The truth lies in Tel Aviv, at Bangkok. And the more people are driven to be serious about the matter of the truth, there is, by its own operational definition in the ordinary world, there is nothing funny about it. You do not laugh in church. There's nothing. You don't laugh in philosophy class. You don't laugh. Well, in case you never noticed in life, it is such a specialized area. They have specific places to go laugh. I don't know the importance of this, but my understanding is now the cover charge in comedy clubs exceeds that of going to a church or temple. So I don't know what to make of that. I just threw that in. But they have specific places to go laugh. And even like you being told, you realize, even if you were not a Presbyterian, even if you were a person with your eyes almost opened when you went in. So in other words, you weren't actually a Presbyterian, but you went into a church. You know, or if you walked into a class, and it doesn't have to be just philosophy, there are areas in life that you simply do not laugh. If you wandered in a place and you couldn't even recognize it as being any standard religious institution or even an academic building, you just walk in and you can feel it. There are places that you don't laugh. And if you think about it for a second, is why you got some reaction when I said there were specialized places to laugh, is that there are more places, now that we're going into mathematics, I know, I would venture to say, not starting out with a disturbing statistic, which is another Kyroot. I wonder if anybody requested that one. But I would venture to say that there are more places, proportionately speaking, that there are more places in life where you shouldn't laugh than places that would be perfectly acceptable. Am I right or wrong? Hey, when I'm right every now and then, I'm pretty right. There are just more places that we had to start mentioning them, funerals, drugstores, all right, apothecaries, because, which is a drugstore that charges you more, but, and the pharmacist insists that you don't call him doc, you call him doctor. Because when you leave, you can say, he ain't a real doctor. I'll try to get back to it a second. It's not that there's anything, even with ordinary people, that would swear there's anything wrong with humor, but they would have to admit, if it was brought to their attention in this way, which God knows why anybody would do it, that there's more places in life to actually go out and just do business in life, just ordinary stuff. If you're just walking in and you're paying your bill at Walmart, and the person says, well, I'll be $27.50. For some of you, Kyroot and I may have bad influence, and some of you have already been through it, just with around ordinary people, just somebody working in a store, or a doctor, or a dentist, and somebody say something, you make a little joke. Many times people will look at you like, they're just not prepared. They're out there, they're doing a job. Just some little simple joke about their job, and not at their expense, but just you make a little joke about life. Is enough of you laugh, so I assume you've been through it. You sort of have to watch it. I mean, people look at you kind of curiously, like, are you a mass murderer? Or, In the general run of ordinary life, I guess you could say, humor is no laughing matter in the general populace under ordinary conditions. So there would seem to be, if there was a crux to it, the crux of the problem with this idea that if something cannot somehow be funny, it can't anyhow be true, because on the face of it, now that I have drawn the face this big and this crude, you'd have to say, if you're ordinary, that is just ridiculous. That's beyond not being true. It's just silly. No, let's go back to it can't be true. That sounds more serious. That can't be true. Because if there is such a thing as the truth, or several the truths, some plurals, they are not funny. I mean, you pick up anybody's Vade Mecum, you pick up the Holy Scriptures, the serious writings, even the serious fiction, as they call it, of a society, of a culture. It is not funny. I mean, it could be a little joke somewhere, I guess, in some fiction. But there is no joke that I know of in the Bible or the Old Testament, or, I'm not an expert, but I can't recall anything I've ever read attributed to Buddha that ended up, you read it, and we'll go, the man just, if he was a comedian, he didn't do it in print. He didn't do it out, or he told them, don't write that down. He said something funny. The point being, the seriousness of life, which is the seriousness of life, it is what is super serious. The world is serious. They got little places you can go pay money and laugh at a specific place at a specific time, I know, but life is serious. One of the outstanding features of life is death. And everybody takes that serious. So, consider if this really had any validity, that everybody says they're looking for the truth, whether they're religious or philosophical. Everybody wants to know the truth, even if it's just some little simple truth that they say, I want to know why. That it's me, Bubba Ledbetter, decent job, don't beat up my wife any more than anybody else here in the trailer park. I want to know why it is that my truck keeps breaking down on Saturday night. The man wants to know the truth. What have I done to offend the gods, other than one time I went to a Presbyterian church? Which I guess is sort of a cardinal sin in Alabama. I don't know. Everybody would believe there's some kind of truth, and they either say they'd like to know what it is under certain conditions, or if you said there is, would you like to know what it is, they would say yes. But what's the last thing in the world they would assume that it has any connection to? Well, humor. And of course, that's just a word, and there's some reality behind even me calling it, or Kyroots calling it, humor. But back to, rather than the suggesting and think about it, what if this is a literal fact that what everybody else has been calling the truth, what they think they're going to look for, and the same ones who most intellectually, most historically recognizable as noteworthy figures that have claimed that they were seeking the truth are the same ones that say they didn't find it. That it was just an honorable struggle and there was a journey. At any rate, they couldn't find it. I assume you know where that goes. That philosophically, theoretically speaking, even ministers, priests, people with the head of the philosophy department at Cambridge, they will say, no, I do not know what the truth is. I am searching for it. I'm studying for it. I still work on it. So everybody says, we've never found it. What if this is why? They think there are all kinds of other reasons. Well, God don't want us to find it. Or, well, we just don't. There's no degree beyond Doctor of Philosophy. But if we ever come up with that, then we'd finally know the truth. But everybody agrees, no, we seem to get closer, and sometimes I even think I'm personally closer, and then I kind of drift away. What if this is it? Would that not explain, amongst other possibilities, not amongst others, the only possibility? The rest of them are not possibilities. People just say, I don't know. What if this is it? That would explain it, why nobody can find the truth. Assuming there is such a thing. We're still just playing assume. If there is such a thing, if you look anywhere, where's the last place anybody would look? That is, they would go to a place where there's a lot of laughs. You're not going there. What if that was the only place that if it existed, and I don't mean that comedians somewhere are secret dispensers of the truth. But if this be correct, that nothing could be true unless somehow it's funny. And I'll go ahead and say somehow doesn't mean that it takes a lifetime of torturing and having to take the idea and work on it and dissect it and deconstruct it in case you think you don't know what's going on intellectually, know the word. But to disassemble it all and try and put it in different pieces. No, not that. Just whatever the truth. If somebody says, all right, the truth is, somebody out here's opinion, whatever they call it. The truth is, blah, blah, blah. And that you hear it. It's like some of you were talking, for those of you on tape, whenever you get it, it was one of our great 4-year entertainment spectacles of the major political parties having their convention all here in the last few weeks. And several people around here were talking about it and asked, I heard someone talking, they were asking each other, did you know that the Comedy Channel on cable, not this show, it's another show, maybe it was this show, that some comedy channel was doing a full coverage and playing like they were actually the convention and doing a simulcast or simultaneous comedy version of the actual thing. And then I heard somebody else that didn't have cable said, no, but I looked at the real thing and I can't imagine it being funnier. So what I'm saying is, it's not that somebody says, all right, the truth is God is love. That's the easy one. It's not that you've got to take that apart and think, all right, if this is some great secret here, that anything that can't be somehow be made funny cannot anyhow be true, then let's see. All right, I'm going away and retire to the mountains of, Oregon. And I'll work on this. That's not it. That if you can do it, just anything anybody says is serious, I'll go ahead and be real crude. Anything that other people say is serious, once you get a certain kind of view of it, immediately is funny. It doesn't make much of a, I hate to be philosophical or use that terminology, it doesn't make much of a rat's ass. That's postmodern existentialist terminology. By way of poor old man Orkin, who went to join the rats and the roaches in the sky. But his attorneys are happy. How's that for getting off the subject? But we're getting closer to the truth. They're still fighting. It's not that you've got to take it apart and work on it. And I'm not going to take that one specifically and try and make you see how it's funny, because that's not the point. It's not to take whatever it was, and it doesn't have to be religious. If somebody said the truth is, life is only worth living when you live it for your fellow man. I'm just trying to get something that's not necessarily religious. But if somebody, some school of thought, some whole culture is historically credited with saying the truth of life is so-and-so. It doesn't matter exactly what they said. If you ever get a certain view of it, you can even laugh beforehand. It's like them flashing on the screen, stay tuned for the Republican convention. I mean, that's funny already. I don't have to know what they're going to say. I don't have to wait to find who the candidate is or what's he going to promise. That's funny to start with. So if somebody says, all right, you want to know the truth? That's funny already. I mean, we're talking about an ordinary person, because if an ordinary person would do it anyway. But as soon as they say, all right, you people want to know the truth? All right, I'll tell you the truth. All right, it's funny. The rest of it just kind of, it's a small chuckle after the big laugh. Because they say, all right, I'm going to tell you what's the truth. I mean, you got and so then, if you're going to stay tuned in, or you're sitting there in the church or synagogue or comedy club, and they say, all right, here it is. Then they say, the only life worth living is that which is love for your fellow man. Then that's still good for a laugh, but you've already had the real good one. I mean, it's funny, but see, that's kind of just a minor, it's an after ripple laugh. Because the real laugh is simply on the basis that another human, an ordinary human, says, all right, I'll tell you the truth. Okay. So we dropped all the suggesting and whatnot. I'll just tell you, since it doesn't cost extra. I shouldn't do that, because then I'll say, all right, I'll tell you the truth. See? You people out there on cable land, you either thought that I was running for president or that I was going to do it myself. So, all right, I'll tell you the truth. Now, I was sitting here reading that, and it reminded me, don't be dumb. Well, something reminded me. I guess being dumb reminds you a lot. God, I like that one. Nobody asked me. Anything that can't somehow be made funny can't anyhow be true. Doesn't that... If life was trying to trick people, I still like that kid from several weeks ago that asked his father, just how difficult is it to fool people? Nobody requested that one. There was a slight build-up to it, but that was what it ended up with. He wanted to know just what does it take to fool people? Oh, now it hits me why nobody wanted that one read. Okay, I'm all right. I'll play along. I'm with you. I don't want to know. You're right. You were right, but not requesting that. Why go into that kind of messy detail now? I mean, hell, some of you will be dead in another 10 or 12 years, so why get into that kind of crap now? Short history. Another one of Kyroots' exceedingly short history of stuff. This time, having to do specifically with man's moral evolution, as seen by secondary life. And it goes like this. Along about noon of the second or third day of creation, over in this one reality, a loud voice hollered out to the creatures, all right, hey, everybody that was at least partially responsible for all this dirt on the ground, pick it up. And then it added, and, by the way, all of you are at least partially responsible, so get with it. It didn't get much when it was read, and it didn't get a lot then, but that doesn't sound at all familiar. It does, you just won't think about it. All you got to do is have just a scintilla of morality. And I don't mean having it personally, it's just been rubbed on you. That one time you either went to a church or you passed too close to a synagogue, or somebody looked at you like, did you do that? I think it's normally known as, I always confuse it. It's either breathing or guilt. Which is it? Because when it gets into the religions, like the comedy clubs, most of them specialize. You know how life is getting so now that there are comedy clubs that only, or they're specialized. They're made for I started to say disrobed accountants. I guess it'd be disbarred. But anyway, they specialize. The religions, to back to them, but it's also outside religion, just community standards. Very good one I like, going on all the conventions. Back to that. Family values. Which, looking at some of the families of politicians, I figure they got theirs on sale. That's just my joke for the day. The religions go into specifics. Morality itself, if it was outside religion, but inside of any community, any culture, but religion, the easy one always. It points out specific things you should not do. Don't do this. Here's 10 commandments, here's 12 commandments, here's 3 commandments, here's things. Do not do those. And as we've all pointed out, even if it was 1 commandment, I guarantee it would be such a commandment that nobody could do it. It sounds a little bit better if there are 10. I mean, 10's a nice number. I guess we're just used to it. But something better than 1. If the religion said, all right, the only thing you got to do to be a good person is don't do this. And if it's just 1 and nobody can do it, I mean, that kind of, I don't know, kind of depressing. Or I guess as Professor Donahue or Oprah would say, it kind of puts a dent in your self-esteem. That there's 1 damn commandment and I can't do it. But if you got 10... it's like you can get lost in a maze. Because somebody can say, you mean that you have been a Jew or a Presbyterian or a Baptist now for 30 years or all of your life and you still covet your neighbor's cow? You can go, well, that's just one of the 10 commandments. The tacit part, even if you don't go into it, and if they're a decent person, they're not going to push it. But the kind of unspoken part is that, well, that's 1, but, without saying it's kind of like, the other 9 I probably handle just like that. But see, it can just kind of be the background. I'm laying out in the sun and maybe I sunburned my finger a little right here at the end. But the rest of them, I'm all right. It's just, it's skin cancer right here. And the people don't say, don't you like it right toward the end when I draw the parables out to such a degree that even the worst of you begin to look kind of... So you say, well, sure, I got a little skin cancer right here. And people let it go. They won't say, wait a minute. Take off all your clothes and I want to look you from top to bottom. As long as there are 10 commandments or a whole bunch and somebody says, uh-oh, there you are drinking again, you can go, well. And the unsaid part is, yeah, but you didn't see me beat on my wife today. I didn't hit anybody. I'm not in jail. It's always if there's a whole bunch of things that you're supposed to do or not do, then just because somebody catches you at one of them, it's just sort of an unspoken agreement, a gentleman's agreement, if I may say so, amongst people. That, well, yeah, you caught me in one. But the unsaid part is, between you and them is, well, you know, the other 9 you may have down pat. Generate back to this. That's why you don't have religions only have one commandment. Because, you know, it's like a rat. You only got one hole, and that one hole's been stopped up. And you run to get out of it, and it's like the whole society. Everybody sitting and looks at you, and you can't get in the hole. But if you got 10 holes, you're all right. This kind of Kyroot, I was going to point out, just about covered it, though, rather than something specific. You know, God telling Clyde that he shouldn't look that way at Eve's sister. Instead of something specific, that you could always find a way out. Well, yeah, I looked at her, but my wife's out of town. You know, Eve had PMS, and so I mean, what choice? She was driving me nuts. This God about covered it. He simply, this God, this reality, wherever it was, he had the idea of guilt down, cold. This is the kind of God you wouldn't want to be around. This kind of universe. He simply said, all right. I'm paraphrasing it to. It's a matter of guilt, although that word didn't appear here in the Kyroots. He simply says, all right, everybody that's at least partially responsible for all this dirt on the ground, get it out. Huh? How are you going to get out of that? $60 seconds. I don't guess anybody would like to figure how you could have dirt on the ground. No, I wouldn't. $45 seconds. God, we're going along fine, right? To show you how, point out, to show you how stupid, in fact, that double-tongued Kyroot with his adjectives and adverbs, how sterling silver stupid are the parts of the universe can be. There's this one world where they believe that language invented man. Good night.